morning. Can you flip up yeah. That's great, thanks. We have so much snow that it's brighter than the sun. This morning I'm talking about practitioners of the teaching. It really is quite beautiful, and for me it gives those who are practicing the Ageless Wisdom, practicing Agni Yoga, a guideline as to what we are all doing. The first point is this, and it has to do with the path of enlightenment. The teaching explains to us that we really cannot advance on the path of enlightenment and at the same time escape reality. Oftentimes, spiritual students do just that. They read the teaching, they think they are the teaching, and they begin building a pseudo-image. They think they're this, they're thinking they're that, until they're so far removed from who they really are that they disconnect from the sphere of consciousness that we call the true self, the capital S self. What's very interesting is no matter how we delude ourselves of who we think we are, the fiery nature of our spirit is most powerful, and it does not lie. Meditation and study eventually calls forth a command to the student, to the aspirant, and the disciple to confront the not self. In other words, to discover who we are and who we are not, what is true and what is false in our nature. And this is truly the most, I think, one of the greatest treasures that the teaching gives us, and yet is a treasure that people don't want to open. It's painful to accept who we are and who we are not until we finally find that spark of light. And the minute we find that spark of light, which is the spark of the true self, the higher self, the greater self, when we find who we truly are as a spiritual being, there's nothing like it. And that's what we call reality, being real. We're no longer trying to pretend to be the images that mom and dad, a mold that mom and dad created for us that they expected we were going to be, or that certain teachers said you're going to do this and you can't do that. All those influences that seem to distract us from walking this true path of enlightenment and becoming real. So this is the struggles that spiritual students find a few years into discovering the teachings and being, totally in love with the beauty of the teaching. Then the work begins, and that's when so many people eventually, or almost immediately at times, just walk away. They don't want to become a true practitioner. So today is hopefully a wake-up call for many of us about being real. To confront the not self requires us to gaze into the mirror of the capital S self and review our life. To hold ourselves accountable for all that we have done, for all that we have said or even thought, and to have the courage to see our ugliness and the humility to see the hidden glory of our beauty, to see in the reflection of the mirror all that we are and all that we are not. There is a most beautiful Buddhist koan which provides a parable of the nature of the not-self. Koans are riddles to teach and help the student, us, to realize enlightenment. Koans come from sutras or ancient sayings. They are profoundly meaningful, for each koan points to that capital S self, to the real. A koan is a means to directly focus our mind in such a way that we can penetrate through the barriers of our glamours and illusions in order to awaken ourselves to that great self. This koan is called Nanchuan's Stone Buddha. Nanchuan's Stone Buddha. Upasaka Lukan said to her teacher, Nanchuan, "In my house there is a stone which sits up or lies down. I intend to carve it as a Buddha. Can I do it?" Nanchuan, the teacher, answered, "Yes, you can." Upasaka Lukan asked again, "Well, then can I not do it?" And Nanchuan answered, "No, you cannot do it." And that's the koan. The point is this, that we cannot depend upon others to give us enlightenment. It can be gained only by our striving, by our decision to become real, and a willingness to live a life of reality. This calls for a decision to engage in a spiritual tradition that requires certain things, such as letting go of nasty habits, aberrant thoughts, selfish behaviors, arrogance, vanity, and egotism, in order to allow the flowers, the beauty of flowers in our garden to bloom. Is this koan the student wanted to know his possibility of becoming a Buddha? Is this what that student was asking? And if so, could he transform, by carving that Buddha, could he transform himself into becoming a Buddha? If he could not become a Buddha, then he would be like a stone. The student had thought his teacher would praise his good intentions. But the student had thought, but the teacher, all the teacher said was, "Yes, you can." And the student wanted more from the teacher than that. "Yes, you can." When the student said, "Can I not do it?" why did he ask his teacher such a foolish question after the teacher said, "Yes, you can carve that stone into a Buddha"? There could have been many reasons that Upasaka Lukan questions. For example, the student may have felt that he was his teacher's favorite student and had expected the teacher to praise him by saying something like, "Of course you can carve this stone. You are my favorite student." The teacher could have been indicating to the student he would give him enlightenment with that kind of answer. Another reason could have been that the student was lacking in self-assurance and wanted to test the teacher's thinking. Perhaps the teacher is just being polite with me, but knows really I cannot attain nirvana and thereby reach Buddhahood. So he tested the teacher by asking him, "Maybe I can't do it." And the teacher answered in agreement. Now the student is left in a crisis. Can he do it? Or can he not do it? He has to confront himself. The teacher Nanchuan was directing his answers to Lucan's ego. When a person does not know all or what he is, all his thoughts and actions have no foundation. He thinks and does things by imitating others, or he is controlled by others. So what part of our nature is real? What parts of our thinking, emotions, and deeds are imitation? The other evening, I was watching a talent program where teens from many parts of the United States had earlier auditioned for the competition and then later appeared on the TV program. There were maybe 15 finalists. What amazed me was the similarity of their presentations, even though the songs were different. Basically, with one exception, both the young men and young women alike were imitating Britney Spears, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, or combinations of. None were unique. Some had incredibly beautiful voices, but they had not developed a sense of who they were yet, their own sound. Sometimes it is good to strive to imitate others, but only in a certain manner. For example, heroes. For some of us, Helena Rourke is a hero, as is her husband. Each gave a legacy to humanity, a legacy of wisdom. After reading about their lives, reading about their contribution to humanity, their strivings and challenges, daring and courage, their sacrificial service to the world, you decide these are others, people like the Rourkes, or others are your heroes, people you want to emulate or to exemplify. You now have a vision of what you want to be, of what you want to become, and how you want to live your life. Yet you must remain real and not be a great pretender. So the next step is to strive by your own hands and feet to become an example of your heroes. Let's say you decide to live a spiritual life after reading about your hero. Then the next step is to consider what parts of your life you can be. What can you realistically do and not do? You may want to be like Helena Rourke, but even if you want to be like her, you may not have all the needed attributes. For example, by the time Helena Rourke was 6 years old, she spoke 3 languages. You may not have the aptitude to speak several languages. She was an excellent pianist, but you may not have musical talents. So even though you want to be just like your hero, there may be certain restrictions, and you must discover what you can and cannot do. You must decide what you want to be, what you can do, and then begin to do it. It is in the doingness that we cultivate beingness. It's in the doingness that we cultivate beingness. We have to work hard to become somebody, to develop beingness. To cultivate beingness, you have a vision. something which inspires you to use your knowledge and experiences in the most fitting way. For example, you decide you want to become a musician. You have to shape yourself into becoming the best musician that you can be. Once you become a good musician, then how are you going to use that knowledge and talent in the most appropriate way? All that you do must be factual, no electronic enhancement. The other day I was talking to a composer who sent me to a website to listen to their compositions. The music was beautiful and the choir was spectacular. I was so impressed. I asked the composer about the singer with the soprano voice. The composer said, well, there were actually only 5 people in the choir, but what they had done is that they duplicated the sound electronically. So it sounded as if there was a huge choir singing the composer's music. Sometimes people tell others that they are very advanced spiritual beings, and they do this by criticizing or belittling their teachers. I sometimes will ask the one criticizing, okay, well, how many books did you write? How many students do you have? How many lives have you influenced? I will ask them how they became so advanced that they were now in a position to criticize these beautifully dedicated spiritual teachers. They cannot back up their answers with facts of their own accomplishments. You cannot say, I love Helena Rourke and her life, and then consider yourself to be just like her. You have to work for it. We must learn who we are, and then what we can and cannot do, even if we want to do it. We cannot compose a melody and consider ourselves to be a musician. Spiritual students must cultivate beingness. To do this, there are certain steps the teaching encourages us to take. The first step is we must know what we are and where we are. What we are and where we are. The next step is to know what people are that are around you and where they are. And then the third step, we need to know what we can be and what we want to be. So we ask ourselves, okay, what am I? What am I? My doingness, your doingness, is always based on your beingness. If you think you are a musician but can't read music, then you are only pretending to be a musician. If you think you are an electrician but you don't know the laws of electricity, then you are not an electrician. Spiritual students, in order to be somebody, must be somebody. Let me repeat this. In order to be somebody, you must be somebody. Sounds strange, doesn't it? In order to be somebody, you must be somebody. What does this mean? Okay, you must be a musician. You must know the laws of music. it's like when I was a child, I loved music, and I had a gazillion aptitude tests given to me by different psychologists, and they all said, your daughter is going to be a musician. That's going to be her path. But that didn't make me a musician. And so Mom and Dad signed me up with, 2 different music teachers to take lessons from. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours went into practicing different instruments. And even then, I was not yet a musician. I had some knowledge, but it wasn't perfected. I had to learn the laws of electricity first, and then put it into practice. To be a healer, you have to heal yourself first, that you're doing this to be a healer, a teacher, a politician, an economist, a minister, a computer technician, and so forth. People who are a nobody will not do anything that requires a specialization. To be somebody, you must engage in doingness. We live in such a fast-paced world today. It's like everything, to me anyway, seems like everything is on fast forward. And because of this, more and more demands are placed on our doingness in order to be somebody. I think part of the reason behind this is because of, this is an old word called telecommunication. Telecommunication today is worldwide contact with one another. Where in our hometown we may have been a spectacular musician, now because we are in contact with musicians all over the world, we will recognize early on how far we have yet to go. So therefore, the pace of demand on perfection becomes intensified. Hopefully I'm making, myself clear, and their images are being developed in your mind. It's like if you are, let's say you're a computer technician, and wow, back in the 70s, you were hot stuff. You were in real demand as a computer technician. But why? Because we were just learning about computers. And anybody that had a modicum of knowledge of computers, they were, a hot commodity. Today, you open up your newspaper or your telephone directory or go online to see, who in your local vicinity can help you. There's this long list. But what we have found in White Mountain, no matter the long list of computer technicians, out of 100, there may be one that has stayed on top of the progress that is now being made and demanded from computer technicians. So a computer technician is not only out there practicing their doingness, they're having to increase their knowledge, spend more time learning. So the level of their learning is the level of their beingness. You see that? So with that talent program on television, where those 15 finalists were really, they had beautiful voices. But they were holding themselves back with personal development by imitating someone else. How many Whitney Houstons, were there back then, and are they today? To sound like Whitney Houston now is, to put yourself back to her era. But when you begin to practice reality, it never gets outdated. So where you are means your level of consciousness. Things that are done by you have their cause in your beingness. If you don't like who you are, if you don't like your beingness, then you can work hard to change. The second point, you must know what people around you are and where they are. This is really important. Really, really important. Why? If you are a beautiful spiritual being and those around you do not live a spiritual life, if they are not living a spiritual life, they will soon begin to negatively affect your beingness. If you do not know what those around you are, they will eventually negatively affect your beingness. Their atmosphere may be very coarse and ugly. If you are ignorant of the people around you, you may end up losing your beauty. You must learn about the level of consciousness of those who are close to you. Do you see how important this is? It's so subtle until it isn't. When you, like a friend of mine just recently, she had a very dear friend who was in trouble, had a relationship breakup, and didn't have a place to live. And so my friend invited her to move into her home. It was a beautiful gesture. Let me help you through your problems, your troubles, by letting you move into my home. Well, over the weekend, that person moved out. But not until yelling and screaming at that person who gave her that helping hand, come on in, you can stay here until you get your life straightened out. That person the person that moved in to the house was not a spiritual being. So before we decide to put out that helping hand to someone, make sure the level of consciousness they are before you let them move into your home and share who they are and share their energy. And little by little by little, that temporary roommate, just like a worm, crawls in and you don't know it's in your house, began to eat away at this woman's self-confidence and their spirituality. Number 3, you need to know what you can be and what you want to be. To know what you can be depends on your knowledge of yourself. If you know that your aptitude, your skills, and talents will shape you into a musician, then that is what you can be. If you want to be a physicist, but you have no aptitude for math, then you must change your direction. A man found an eagle's nest, an eagle's egg, and put it in the nest of a backyard hen. I know you know this story. The eaglet hatched with a brood of chicks and grew up with them. All his life, the eagle did what the backyard chickens did, thinking he was a backyard chicken. He scratched the earth for worms and insects. He clucked and cackled, and he would thrash his wings and fly a few feet in the air. Years passed, and the eagle grew very old. One day he saw a magnificent bird far above him in the cloudless sky. It glided in graceful majesty among the powerful wind currents, with scarcely a beat of its strongly golden wings. The old eagle looked up in awe. "Who's that?" he said. "Well, that's the eagle, the king of the birds," said his neighbor. "He belongs to the sky, and we belong to the earth. We're chickens." So the eagle lived and died a chicken. For that's what he thought he was. There are ways in which to be conscious about ourselves and others and about our future. People are divided into three major categories. They're either darkened sparks, flickering lights, or radiant suns. Darkened sparks are those people who, by use of their free will, consistently choose the wrong direction and thus diminish their light. You can change your direction if you are willing to strive, to work hard, and willing to go through some pain and suffering. You can change your direction if you are willing to give of your time, energy, and talent without expectation of reward. We are told that darkened sparks are those people who are led into places or conditions where they will be unhappy or joyless, even if they live in great luxury and have important positions. Even if they live in a holy temple, study sacred books, and so forth, they will not be allowed to enjoy spiritual realization. Flickering lights have both light and dark moments in their lives. Flickering lights, the teaching tells us, have 6 main characteristics. The first is that they are unstable. A flickering light is unstable. They lack firm direction and perseverance. They are undependable and untrustworthy. They spread confusion in the minds of others. They have contradictory goals, and they are victims of vanity. That's the 6 main characteristics of being a flickering light. Unstable people cannot be trusted with any serious job or responsibility. One day they are this way, the next day they are that way. Their relationships are also unstable. One day they respect and love you, and the next day they slander you and talk to others in such a way that the others will begin to turn against you. Lacking in direction, one day they meditate and pray, and the next day they curse. One day they are focused upon high ideals, but then the next day they visit the most obnoxious and shameful places. One day they may be a spiritual teacher and gain followers, and then the next day the teacher encourages them to drink and to use drugs and engage in promiscuous activities. Flickering lights can be anyone: doctors, lawyers, judges, politicians, or common people who are slaves to alcohol, sex, and money. Such people cannot lead others. To have direction means to go toward perfection, to expand your consciousness. Radiant sons are those who have an advanced consciousness, who have a pure heart and pure motives. They never act under hatred and fear, greed, jealousy, or revenge. They are firm in their devotion and dedication. They do not have selfish motives. They have what? Beingness. A radiant sun can be old or young. I'm going to close with this story. It is said that once Tamerlane went to Armenia to destroy many towns and villages. One day, Tamerlane came with his entire army to a beautiful and prosperous village and surrounded it. A day later, he sent a messenger to the village and asked to see the head of the village. The head of the village was a 20-year-old man. When the messenger brought him into the presence of Tamerlane, the conqueror, looked at him with surprise and said, "Well, you don't even have a beard yet. So why are you the head of the village?" "Great commander," said the young man, "I want to be the leader with a beard. I will bring him to you. If you want the leader with the beard, I will bring him to you immediately." "That is what I want," said this great commander, Tamerlane. The young man went to the village and came back to this is so cute, came back to the sovereign with a goat, which had a beard. "What is this, young man?" asked Tamerlane with anger. "My lord, I wanted to let you know that wisdom is not in the beard, but in your soul." Tamerlane was very pleased with this answer. Taking him to the test, he gave him many valuable gifts and gave his army the order to withdraw. The village was saved by this old soul and a young body. And guess who Tamerlane was? An incarnation of George Rourke. Interesting, huh? Okay, so that's it for today. Practitioners of the teaching, let us be that. Thank you.